नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवाद पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. So we have been discussing from the book Manah Siksha, and we are currently discussing. We just started discussing the 8th verse of Manah Siksha. So last week we hardly did a recap of the previous verses, and we just touched upon the 8th verse. But still, if Radha Pramod Prabhu has recap to do or a summary sheet that he wishes to share, I will wait and see. But if he does not have, then I can continue.
No, bro, there is no correction.
No summary sheet, right?
Yeah, because we just did the translation.
Yeah, correct. Okay, so I think then in that case, I will directly share my PowerPoint and then we can start. Okay, so I hopefully today we will get to cover some portions. So we have been discussing from this particular verse. From Manah Siksha, of course, 8th verse we have not started to discuss. So I will again do a very quick recap. It's not going to be a long recap like last time. Just I will touch upon the verses and then we will start the 8th verse today and hopefully get to complete Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's commentary. Yeah, I think that might be possible today. So in the verse 1 of Manah Siksha, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami says, basically, as we discussed before, Manah Siksha is a book which raises a practitioner from the level of Shraddha to Prema. And gradually through the various difficult stages of Anartha Nivritti. So, till now, with the 7th verse, almost you can say almost till the 8th verse, Anartha Nivritti is discussed, and then the rest of the stages are, sort of discussed very quickly. So, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, first, in the very first verse, if you remember, he discusses the point of to start the path of bhakti, the very first aspect of starting any spiritual process for that matter, including devotional service, is to give up one's material designation. Sada dambam hitva. Because we are here developing an alternative designation, which is Jivera Swaruphoi Krishnera Nityadas. But only to the extent we can give up the existing false designations, only to that extent we can develop attachment to the new designation. So he says, Sada Dambam Hitva, one should constantly try to give up the false designations, which is described here as Dambam. And that Dambam manifests in the form of various anarthas. Our attachment to these material designations manifest in the form of lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion. It manifests in the form of desire, fame, desire for recognition. It manifests in the form of pretense, hypocrisy, duplicity. So all these are symptoms of our attachment to material designations. So Srila Raghunath Das Goswami says, first should be willing to give it up. Of course, just willingness to give it up will not in essence, immediately that person give it up completely. So it's a gradual process. That's why he says sada. Sada means one should have a constant endeavor to give it up, which means giving up of damba is not an event, but it is a process. It is gradually. So therefore, he says sada dambam hitva, and giving it up, one should try to develop a relationship with Krishna. But how does one the relationship with Krishna? By gradually developing a relationship with things, people, places, etc., connected to Krishna. Okay. So he says, what are those aspects which are connected to Krishna? He says, Gurau, Goshte, Goshtadayishu, Sujane, Bhusuragane, Swamantre, Shamni, Brajanavayuvad, Dvandva Sharane. So these 8 things, Shri Guru, Shri Vrindavan, the Vrajavasis, the Vaishyas, the Brahmanas, one's Gayatri Mantra, the holy name, and the process of surrendering to Lord Vishnu. So gradually one has to develop a relationship with things, develop an appreciation for these things, people, and places. And in that way, one can develop an attachment to Krishna eventually. So that is the first thing. Give up false designation and develop one's spiritual designation. That is the first thing that Srila Raghunath Das Goswami mentions in the first verse. And in the second verse, he talks about the need to change one's paradigm of thinking, feeling, and willing. Okay. So whatever may have been one's past paradigm of thinking, feeling, willing. Either a materialist who thinks, feels, and wills in terms of what he likes and what he dislikes. He accepts what he likes and rejects what he dislikes. Or a person who has who is on the platform of karma, or a dharmic person who thinks in terms of oh, I will accept whatever is dharma and I will reject whatever is adharma. So one has to give up those paradigms of thinking, feeling, and willing, and accept the paradigm of whatever is pleasing to Krishna and Guru, I will accept, and whatever is displeasing to Krishna and Guru, I will reject. So this change of paradigm is suggested here by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, or rather, this is an instruction, Siksha. So teaching to the mind. So he says, please change the paradigm of thinking, feeling, and willing. So, and he says, Nadharmam, Nadharmam, Shrutigana Niruptam Kilakuru, Vraje Radha Krishna Prachura Paricharyam Ihatanu. So give up thinking on this platform of dharma, adharma, raga, dvesha, etc., and start thinking in terms of what is conducive for my worship of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. Along those lines. And then in this verse, he also says the importance of or the role of worship of Guru, Gauranga, in one's aspiration to establish a relationship with Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan. So he says that worship of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very critical because Sachi Sonum Nandishwara Pati Sutatve. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not different from Krishna. In fact, he is Krishna in the mode of Radharani, who has come to taste the mode of Radharani's love for Krishna. So therefore, it's a very special incarnation. And in Kali Yuga, one can develop Braja Bhakti only through the agency of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is Krishna in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it is very critical that one develops an attachment to worshipping Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And what of Guru? Guruvaram Mukunda Preshtatve Smaramana. So he says that and understand that your Guru is the dearmost servant of Radha and Krishna. So therefore, he is the one who is going to make that connection, make our connection with Radha and Krishna. Therefore, it is very critical to worship Guru. That is what he says here. So this is the second verse. And in the third verse, he says, he addresses a very important aspect of our practice, which is it possible to uh, is it possible to attain love of Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan outside our parampara? So basically, he says this is not possible. So he says, Yadicher avasam vrajabuvi saragam pratijanur yuvadvandvam tachet parisharitum arad abhilashe swarupam shri rupam saganamiha tasyagrajamapi sputam premna nityam smaranama tadatvam shrunumana. He says that if you want to worship Radha and Krishna while staying in Vrindavan in a mood similar to the Vrajavasis' love for Krishna and Radharani, then Swarupam Shri Rupam Saganamiha Tasyagrajamapi. Sputam Premna Nityam Smaranama Tadatvam Shrunumana. He says, then you should clearly remember and offer obeisances to Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatan Goswami, and all their associates. Which means essentially, one should take shelter of their writings, and one should take shelter of their writings only, and not mix it with writings from here and there. Teachings are there. All teachings are bona fide. All the Sampradaya teachings are bona fide. But they carry a particular rasa, a particular mood, and it enhances our desire to attain a particular destination. So therefore, if our prayojan is clear, then we should accept teachings only from one sampradaya and not search around from multiple sampradayas. So we should accept the essential books that have been suggested by our acharyas and accept their commentaries only for those books. Okay, so which means essentially the prime book of our sampradaya is Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam Prema Pumarto Mahan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhor Matamidam Tatradaro Nappara. So Bhagavatam is our prime teaching, and even in Bhagavatam, we should accept the commentaries of only our acharyas. Primarily. Sometimes for cross-referencing, we may accept commentaries of other Sampradaya acharyas, but our primary nourishment should be from the commentaries of our Gaudiya Vaishnava acharyas only, because to these acharyas, particular facets of Srimad Bhagavatam is revealed, which nourishes our mood of worshipping Shri Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan. So that is the meaning of Swarupam Sri Rupam Saganamiha Tasya Grajamapi Sputam Premna Nitsmaranama Tadatvam Shrunumana. That is the meaning of that. So that is the third verse, which is emphasizing the importance of chastity to our parampara teachings. Then from verse number 4 to 7, he describes about various stages of anartha nivritti, from the grossest to the subtlest aspects of anartha nivritti. In the fourth verse, he talks about three very gross obstacles to our progressing on the path of not just devotional service, to progressing on the path of Vraja Prem. So he says, Asadvarta Veshya Visrijamati Sarvasva Harani Kata Mukti Vyagrya Na Shrunu Kila Sarvatma Gilani Apityaktva Lakshmi Patiratim Ito Vyomanayanim Vraje Radha Krishnau Swarati Manidau Tvam Bhajamana. This is three things which are obstacles. I will essentially summarize. First is asadvarta. Varta can mean words and varta can mean activities or occupation. So asadvarta can mean prajalpa and asadvarta can also mean activities which increases our asat trishna or thirst for material enjoyment. So the activities which enhance our thirst for material enjoyment are atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha jana sangascha laulyam cha shadbir bhaktir vinashyati. The six activities which enhance our thirst to enjoy in this material world. Um, this is called as asadvarta. One should consciously try to give up these six things. Then the second obstacle is mukti kata. Kata mukti vyagrya. So descriptions of mukti or glorification of mukti or imagining or fantasizing about escaping the material miseries or a deep meditation about escaping material miseries is actually mm, uh, detrimental to devotional service because we are supposed to meditate upon how to overcome. Uh, we are supposed to meditate upon how we can serve Krishna and not just how to overcome material miseries. So Mukti Katha is a very serious obstacle. And the third is very interesting. He says, Lakshmi Pati Ratim. Attachment to serving any other form of the Lord other than Radha and Krishna is an obstacle, he says. And as a representative, he says, Lakshmi Pati Rati. Attachment to worshipping Lakshmi Narayan is a serious obstacle, he says. Because the soul is very chaste. If you have developed attachment towards one form of the Lord, it should not happen that you are attached to worshipping Lakshmi Narayan and you get stuck up in Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, which does not, the writings should facilitate your aspiration. So if you come to, uh, uh, um, if you have a desire to become a very good chartered accountant, then you should not join an engineering college. So, so therefore, uh, the ambience, the association, the teachings should all enhance our enthusiasm and our appetite for attaining our goal. It should not be contradictory to that. So he says, look, if you are very attached to worshipping Lakshmi Narayan, maybe you should choose some other sampradaya. Because the teachings and the sadhana that is going to be prescribed in this sampradaya is not going to help you attain that goal. It is not going to nourish. It's not going to nourish your desire to attain that goal. So therefore, he says, if you are very clear, that's why in the previous verse only he said, Yadicher avasam rajabovi saragam pratijano. Yuvad dvandvam tachet paricharitu maharaj abhilashe. If your desire is to stay in Vrindavan and worship Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan, if your goal is clear, one thing you need to do is to give up Lakshmi Pati Rati. You may have come from a Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, you may have come from a Madhva Sampradaya or any other Sampradaya, and if you still feel I am deeply attached to worshipping them, then this is probably a time to make a choice. Make it. If If your goal is to attain the lotus feet of Lakshmi Narayan, choose the right sampradaya. Just like choose your stream. Would you like to take up engineering, medicine, commerce, arts? What do you want to choose? Choose the stream. Okay. So similarly, so if you have chosen, that's why he said, are you sure your desire is to stay in Vrindavan and worship Radha and the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna? If that is the case, then be ready to give up attachment to worshipping Lakshmi Narayan. It's not that we should not worship Lakshmi and Narayan, but our attachment should be to worship only Radha and Krishna. That is the point. So that is the gross obstacle. First set of gross obstacle, three gross obstacles that he is talking about. Asadvarta, Muktikata, and Lakshmi Patirati. And in the fifth verse, we saw little more subtler obstacles, which is असत् चेष्टा कष्ट प्रद विकट पाशालिभिरिह प्रकामं कामादि प्रकट पतपाति व्यतिकरैः गले बद्ध्वा हन्येहम् इति बकविद् वर्त्मपगणे कुरुत्वं फुट्कारान् अवति स यतात्मं मनयिता. So he says that the little more subtler obstacles which will affect us even after we have decided, yes, I have chosen my goal. My goal is Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. And how are you going to go about? Who is going to guide you? Oh, I have decided to take guidance only from the Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas and no one else. Fine, very good. And they have chalked out a very clear path for me. Very good. So your Abhideya is very clear, your Prayojan is very clear, your Sambandha Gyan is very clear. But once you start, even though the path is sparkling clean path, which has been chalked out by the acharyas, but there are, uh, uh, robbers, highway robbers who are waiting to loot you. And those highway robbers are lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and pride. They are called as Vyatikaraihi. Vyatikaraihi means they are a gang of robbers which are ready to rob you. And what do? They say, Prakam Gale Badwa. They bind one's neck. They bind one's neck. How? Kashta Prada Vikata Pashalibir. By the dreadful ropes, troublesome, dreadful ropes of Asat Cheshta. Asat Cheshta means sinful activities which are impelled by the six anarthas: lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and pride. So, sinful activities, when we are impelled by these sinful activities and we end up doing these activities, they actually distract us from progressing on the path of um, pure devotional service or on the path of Raja Prem. So, and they put the noose on our head, on our neck, and then it starts choking us, which means our devotional progress becomes choked up due to getting distracted by these six anarthas. What is the solution? He says, Hanyeham, Hanyeham, iti kurutvam futkaran. I am dead, I am dead, I am in danger. Please start crying out for help. From whom? He says, Bakabid Vatmapagane. From the devotees who are the protector of the path which takes you towards Krishna Prem. Seek help from the devotees. So cry out for help. So we saw it could mean so many things. It could mean that as long as you live in the association of devotees, as long as you surround yourself with devotees, there is very less chance of succumbing to the six enemies. This is one understanding. Another thing is that one should learn to invest in a relationship with the devotees, so that when we are in trouble, we feel very comfortable shouting and asking for help. That we are sure that the person is not going to judge us, be judgmental, and uh, and he's genuinely going to help me out. Uh, so for that, we need to uh, invest in establishing a relationship, and we have to seek help, which means open our heart in confidence. And another meaning also is never be alone and trust yourself too much. You know, don't uh, ours don't underestimate the potency, the empowerment that comes through the association of devotees. Hmm. एकाकी आमार नहीं पाए बला हरिनाम संकीर्तने. Hmm. So alone, our potency is very limited. So therefore, as far as possible, as much as possible, we should try to be in the association of devotees. That way, uh, we are safe. That is the fifth verse, which talks about the subtler obstacles of lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and pride. Even if one may overcome those obstacles, then even subtler obstacles manifest in the form of deceit, hypocrisy, and duplicity. So he says, Are cheta prodyat kapata kutinati barakara sharanmutre snatva dahasi katam atmanam apimam sadatvam gandharva giridara pada prema vilasat sudamboda usnatva swamapi nitaram mamcha sukaya. So he says, even if you have more or less overcome the um, the problems of lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and pride, but whatever residual anarthas are there in the form of lust, anger, envy, etc., one may have the tendency to hide those um, uh, anarthas and act in a deceitful or duplicitous way. So because we don't want, because we are always self-absorbed, self-conscious. What would people think about me? Because of the constant self-absorption, even if we have made serious progress in overcoming lust, anger, envy, etc., but whatever residual problem is there, we may try to hide it because of our self-absorption, which manifests in the form of deceit, duplicity, hypocrisy, like that. So what is the solution? He says, get out of self-absorption by becoming absorbed in glorifying Radha and Krishna. Sadatvam Gandharva Giridhara Pada Prema Vilasat Sudambodau Snatva. Try to take bath in the nectarian ocean of glorification of Shri Shri Gandharvika Giridhari, which means learn to glorify Radha and Krishna, learn to express your fallen state and ask for benedictions, offer prayers. So in that way, rather than being self-absorbed, try to bring Krishna in the center, and in that way one can overcome the problem of self-absorption, which manifests in the form of deceit, duplicity, and hypocrisy. If one may overcome even this to a great extent, but the subtlest of all anarthas, which can actually potentially uh, bring back all the other grosser anarthas, is the desire for fame, name, fame, glorification, and recognition, facilities, etc. Where one may think that I truly deserve, uh, I'm not, whereas deceit and duplicity is when you don't deserve also, you try to get that for yourself by hiding your, uh, whatever weaknesses we may have. But when one has fairly overcome the weakness, then one may think that I genuinely um, deserve to be glorified. Uh, Appreciate me for what I have done. The desire for honor, fame, recognition may be there. And this is considered to be the mother of all the anarthas. So this is compared to a Shwapacha Ramani, a dog-eating woman, Pratishta Shah. And she, as long as she dances within the heart, I want fame, I want recognition, I want to be seen, appreciate me for what I am offering, etc. So, as long as she dances within our heart, sadhu, katam sadhu prema sprishati etat. How can Krishna prem touch the heart of such a person? Okay, it will not. So, what is the solution for this? He says, Sadatvam sevasva prabudayita samantam atulam. One should always or constantly be serving very exalted devotee of Krishna, uh, so that uh, you know we when we see a person who is more exalted than us, and when we are serving him, we think that he deserves all the glorification. And in aspiring and in desiring for a more exalted devotee to be glorified, that uh, that desire actually destroys uh, the craving for a name, fame, recognition, distinction, etc. within our own heart, and in that way makes all the space that is needed for Krishna Prem to enter and blossom within our heart. Okay, so this is the subtlest of all anarthas, and if this anartha is not completely rooted out, this anartha generally comes with uh, his associates or her associates in the form of deceit, duplicity, and then deceit, duplicity brings in other issues also. So, but if one manages to, uh, so this is the uh, subtlest of all anarthas. And the solution for this anartha is uh, serving great devotees. Now, the question is, what if we do not have the association of a very exalted devotee to serve? We may not always have that opportunity to serve an exalted devotee of Krishna. What do we do in that situation? Okay, so this question arises. So, Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, we will chant this verse together. Uh, and then we will see the meaning of this verse and the explanation today. Yata dushtatvam me davayati shatasyapi kripaya yata mahyam premamritamapi dadatyujjvalamasau yata shri gandharva bhajana vidaye prerayati mam tata goshte kakva gidaramihadvam bhajamana. So here Srila Raghunath Das Goswami says, Shatasyapi, no doubt, even though I am a cheater, yata kripaya davayati dushtatvam me. Even though I am a cheater, hmm, uh, uh, but still Lord's mercy can davayati, can drive away me dushtatvam, the wicked nature within my heart. It will drive away that wicked nature, and yata mahyam dadati, and it can give me Ujwalam Premamritam. Ujwalam Premamritam, the glowing nectar of divine love within my heart. So even though I am a cheater, Lord's mercy can drive away my inherent wicked nature and give me the glowing nectar of divine love. Yata prerayati mam Shri Gandharva Bhajana Vidaye. And it can inspire within my heart the process of worshipping Shri Gandharvika. So he says, even if there may not be the association of a very exalted devotee of the Lord, whom I can serve and address my wickedness within my heart. In the absence of such a situation, still I can depend on the mercy of Krishna. And Krishna's mercy is very potent. That Krishna's mercy can remove the wickedness from my heart. Me dushtatvam davayati. Ujwalam premamritam mahyam dadati. It can give me the glowing nectar of divine love and Shri Gandharva Bhajana Vidaye Mam Prerayati. And it can inspire within my heart the process of worshipping Srimati Radharani. So therefore, he says that if the association of very exalted Vaishnavas is not available, still I can trust the mercy of Krishna. That's what he says. Tata, therefore, Manah, therefore, O my dear mind, Kakwa, with pleading words, I am begging you. Tvam Bhaja Giridharam, please worship Shri Giridhari. Iha in Vrindavan. Iha Goshte, here in Vrindavan, please worship Giridhari. I am begging you. So, that's what here in this 8th verse, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami is telling, yes, now I have told you how you can overcome the wicked heart, which is infested with various anarthas in the form of lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and pride, duplicity, and hypocrisy, and all these things, and then the desire for name, fame, recognition, and everything, and all of which can be destroyed if one gets the opportunity to serve a very exalted devotee of Krishna. And if that is not available, if that opportunity to worship Krishna is not there, is it that his life is doomed? He says, no, don't give up your heart. He says, don't give up your heart. Actually, somehow, please develop some taste to worship Giridhari in Vrindavan. Please somehow worship Giridhari in Vrindavan. And if you worship Giridhari in Vrindavan, then Kripaya, then you can attract his mercy. And when his mercy comes, me dushtatvam davayati, that mercy of Krishna will drive away, uh, the wickedness within my heart. Ujwalam premamritam mahyam dadati, and that mercy will bestow upon me the glowing nectar of divine love for Krishna. Shri Gandharva Bhajana Vidaye Mam Prerayati, and it will inspire within my heart the process of worshipping Shri Radha and Krishna. So therefore, if an opportunity to serve very exalted devotee is not available, my dear mind, please don't get morose and and uh, and very despondent. Somehow worship Krishna, and Krishna's mercy will flow, and that mercy has the capacity to drive away the wickedness within your heart and inspire Ujjvala Premamrita, the nectar of the glowing nectar of divine love for Krishna, and inspire within your heart the process of worshipping Radha and Krishna. So therefore, but the point is, one should learn the art of humbly pleading with the mind and convince the mind to worship Radha and Krishna, irrespective of whether the association of exalted devotees are there or not. If it is there, very good. Even if it is not there, somehow convince the mind to still worship Radha and Krishna, and in that way, one can attract their mercy, and their mercy is so potent, it can drive away the wicked nature, uh, uh, and attract the divine love and inspire the process of worshipping Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. So therefore, the mood of humble plea, humbly pleading, it is very essential. That's what he's indicating here. Okay. Krishna Prabhu says that my voice is not audible. Can others hear my voice, or is it not audible to you also? Can you please type in the chat box and let me know? Is my voice audible? Okay, clear and audible, everyone says. Then I think the problem is with Krishna Prabhu, your either earphones or maybe speaker has an issue. You can please, or maybe it's your internet. Okay, so that's what here he says in this 8th verse. So where he says, even if the association of a very exalted Vaishnava is not available, don't give up. Continue your worship and try to attract the mercy of Krishna. And that mercy of Krishna is potent enough to drive away, uh, all the wicked nature, and manifest love for Krishna and inspire the process of worshipping Radha and Krishna. But that does not mean that one underestimates or undervalues the potency of serving Vaishnavas. So this option is given only in case of non-availability of an exalted Vaishnavas association. He is not discouraging that. He is not even comparing what is more powerful, mercy of Krishna or the process of serving great Vaishnavas. He is not even comparing that. He is telling, if it is not available, devotional service is not impossible. You can still depend on the mercy of Krishna. That's what he is indicating here. Okay. So this is what is the verse. Now we can start. So now from next week onwards, I will not do the revision of the first 7 verses. We have done it twice. That is good enough. So this is the explanation of the verse, that the 2 points that he is mentioning here in this verse is that if the association of great Vaishnavas is not there, please don't become despondent. Worship Krishna, attract his mercy, and his mercy can drive away all inauspiciousness and give up all that is favorable for achieving perfection in one's spiritual life. This is the first point. Second point that he is telling is that for that you need humility. You need to humbly plead with the mind and somehow convince the mind to continue worshipping Radha and Krishna. This is the point. Okay, now we will see Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's commentary to this verse. So what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says? So he says, with the association of sadhus and the gradual transfusion of spiritual energy, wickedness in the heart of a devotee disappears and all success is achieved. Okay. So practically for most of the anarthas, the solution that was given was association of sadhus only. Directly for, in 2 verses, and indirectly for all the verses. Actually, the solution is association of sadhus. That can only help uproot the wickedness within the heart. Okay. But such association of sages cannot be obtained so easily. Therefore, Raghunath Das Goswami gives us the instruction in this verse. So, what is the instruction? So, we are going to see the verse. He is going to explain each word of this verse, each phrase of this verse in detail. First, he is going to tell the meaning of the word, explain the word kakwa. Kaku, kakwa means to plead. Plead indicates the mood of humility. Pleading indicates the mood of humility. Kakwa means to plead. So with pleading words, so he says, the helpless, destitute practitioner's expression, that is a humble plea. So one can humbly plead. One can very humbly plead only if one feels that he is helpless, destitute. So, which means this is how we should feel in the absence of association of devotees. And this is our true state actually. In the absence of the association of exalted, inspiring devotees, our actual state is actually we are helpless and destitute. We are shelterless actually. So that feeling of helplessness and a feeling of being destitute should create in our heart deep humility, and it should manifest in the form of a humble plea, begging. We should beg. So that is the meaning of kakwa. So he says, if the association of such devotees is not there, then you have every reason to feel helpless and destitute, and that mood should create in your heart a feeling, a mood of humble plea. We should humbly plead to Krishna for help. Krishna, please save me, please show some mercy. I have no association here and I see no hope. I feel so helpless. I feel like a destitute. Please help me. So in this mood, if we worship, then Krishna's mercy can compensate for the absence of association. So that mood of being helpless, destitute mood should, if it creates the strong feeling of humility, and if we beg in that humble mood for Krishna's mercy, then that can attract the mercy of Krishna, which can completely compensate for the lack of association. But one should not think that better, this seems like an easier option. I can plead to Krishna, I can ask Krishna for mercy rather than having to deal with these devotees, which seems like a big headache. One should not feel like that. So here he says, so first he says kakwa, devotion that is free of deception is always combined with the attitude that I am extremely wretched and extremely destitute and wretched. This is a very important point that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is writing here right at the outset. He says, what is the symptom of deception free devotion? How do you know if is my devotion free of deception? People may say, yeah, I think so. I think I'm not, I don't deceive anyone. I'm sure my practice of devotion is free of deception. So here he says, what is the symptom of deception-free devotion? He says, the symptom of deception-free devotion is the attitude that I am extremely destitute and wretched. I have no hope. I am totally dependent on mercy. This mood is the symptom of deception-free devotion. If this mood is absent, then our devotional service is not free of deception. So, Shri Rupa Goswami Shri Gandharva Samprartanashtakam from the Stavamala expresses such feeling. So, this Gandharva Samprartanashtakam exhibits uh, the mood of deception free devotion, which has the symptom of uh, total a feeling of being destitute and wretched. Feeling of being destitute and wretched. So we are going to do this Ashtakam and see the meaning. Vrindavane viharato vihakeli kunje mattadvipa pravara kautuka vibramena sandarshayasva yuvayor vadanaravinda dvandvam videhi mayi devi kripam prasida. So here Srila Rupa Goswami says, Viharataha iha keli kunje. You are roaming freely in this pleasure grove. And where is this pleasure grove? Vrindavane, in Sri Vrindavan. And while roaming freely in this pleasure grove of Vrindavan, what are you doing? Kautuka vibramena. You are enjoying love. Matta dvipa pravara. Pravara means best. Matta means intoxicated. Dvipa means elephant. Matta dvipa pravara means the best of the intoxicated elephants. So he is telling, you are roaming freely in this pleasure grove in Sri Vrindavan, enjoying love like the greatest of intoxicated elephants. O Devi, O Radharani, Sandarshayaswa, please show me Yuvayor Vadanaravinda Danvam. Can you please show me your face and the face of your beloved? Mayi videhi kripam prasida. And can you please bestow your mercy upon me? This is kakwa. Kakwa. Praying for mercy. Sandarshayasva. So in this first verse, there is prayer for mercy. Please bestow your mercy and show me your face and the face of your beloved Krishna. Sandarshayasva yuvayor vadanaravinda dvandvam. Please show me your face and the face of your beloved. So this is prayer for mercy. This is the first verse. Then, Ha Devi Kakubhara Gad Gadayadya Vacha Yache Nipatya Bhuvidanda Vadudbhatartihi Asya Prasadamabudasya Janasya Kritva Gandharvike Nijagane Kananam Videhi. Ha Devi, O Devi, O Radharani, Nipatya Bhuvi Dandavad, falling on the ground like a rod. Udbata Artihi, I am I, an extremely distressed soul, yache, beg. You see here the words used. Hmm? Dandavat, hmm? Bhuvi nipatya. Dandavat bhuvi nipatya. Okay. And then udbata artihi. Hmm? And then the word yache. And then the word kaku. Kaku comes here. Kakwa kaku. Kaku bara gadgadayadya vacha. Huh? I beg you in a kaku bhara gadgadayadya vacha. So these indicate the mood. Hmm? Dandavat bhuvi nipatya indicates humility. Okay. Udbata artihi. Udbata artihi means indicates the feeling of destitute and wretched. Hmm. Yache indicates begging, and kaku also indicates plea, humble plea. Okay, that is what is indicated here. Ha devi nipatya bhuvi dandavad utbatartihi yache kaku baragat gadayadya vacha. My dear Radharani, I am falling on the ground like a rod. Uh, I, an extremely distressed soul, I am begging you in a stuttering voice filled with a piteous mood. Kritva prasadam abudasya janasya. Having bestowed mercy upon this unintelligent soul, O Gandharvike, O Gandharvika, asya videhi nijagane gananam. Please count me as one of your near and dear ones. So this is humble plea, kakwa. So this mood of earnestly beseeching their lordships for mercy. This is very important. That's what he's telling. Even if you do not have the association of uh, great devotees, very advanced devotees, still don't give up hope. Just understand that I am in a totally wretched situation in the absence of the association of devotees, and in that mode, cry out for mercy to Radha and Krishna, and that can attract their mercy. And if that mercy comes, it can remove all the wickedness, it can bestow Krishna Prem, and it can inspire the process of worshipping Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan within our heart. But for that, the mood of being destitute and wretched should be there, and that should inspire a humble plea from our heart, a plea for help, a plea for mercy. That's what here Shila Rupa Goswami is expressing here in this Sri Gandharva Samprartanashtakam in his Tavamala. So, Hadevi Kaku Baragad Gadayadya Vacha Yache Nipatya Bhuvidanda Vadudbatartihi Asya Prasada Mabudasya Janasya Kritva Gandharvike Nijagane Gananam Videhi. Oh Gandharvike, please count me as one of your near and dear ones, having bestowed your mercy on unintelligent soul. Therefore, in a stuttering voice filled with a piteous mood, I beg you, I am an extremely distressed soul and I'm falling on the ground like a rod and I'm begging you, please bestow your mercy upon me. and count me as one of your near and dear ones. Like that. That mode is being described here, exhibited here by Srila Rupa Goswami in this verse. Then he continues. He says, Shyame Rama Ramana Sundarata Varishta Saundarya Mohita Samasta Jagajjanasya Shyamasya Vama Bhujabaddhatanum Kadaham Twamindra Virala Rupa Bharam Bhajami. He says, O Shama, O Radharani, Krishna's beauty, Varishta, it surpasses Rama Ramana Saundarya. Rama is Mother Lakshmi. Rama Ramana is one who gives pleasure to Mother Lakshmi, which is Lord Narayana. So, Rama Ramana Saundarya Varishta Sundarata. Lord Krishna's beauty is, it surpasses the beauty of Lord Narayana. That is why, the four qualities, the four of the 64 qualities which are there in Krishna are not there in Lord Narayana. Rupa Madhuri, Venu Madhuri, Leela Madhuri, and Bhakta Prema Madhuri. The sweetness of Krishna's flute, the sweetness of Krishna's beauty, the sweetness of Krishna's pastimes, and the sweetness, the unique sweetness of love, which is seen only in the devotees of Krishna. This makes Krishna's beauty much more extraordinary than the beauty of Lord Narayana. Because beauty is not in just the form. Beauty is actually a composite of so many things. So beauty, our perception of beauty is enhanced by one's actions, intelligence, the other qualities of gentleness, expression of love. So beauty is a composite of all these. Beauty is not just what is perceived by the eyes. Beauty is a composite of so many other things, and these things actually make Krishna much more exquisitely beautiful, and it attracts the heart of the devotees of Krishna in a much more powerful way than the devotees of any other form of the Lord. So, Rama Ramana Saundarya Varishta Sundara. So, Krishna's beauty is much, it surpasses the beauty of Lord Narayana. And Mohita Samasta Jagat Janasya. Samasta Jagat Janasya Mohita. It enchants the entire world. That is the beauty of Lord Krishna. Kada aham bajami vam. Kabe habe bolo say dina amar. Oh, when will that day be mine? When I will be able to worship you. Shyamasya vama bhuja baddhatanum. When will I be able to worship you in a form which is embraced by the left arm of Shama, Krishna? Indra Virala Rupa Bharam. Indeed, even Lakshmi Devi rarely sees this form. This form is rarely seen even by Mother Lakshmi. So when will I get an opportunity to worship this form? So in this verse, he is expressing eagerness to worship. That is expressed here. Eagerness to worship. So at the end of the 8 verses, we will do this exercise of we will do this exercise of, mm, you know, trying to understand what is this mood of kakwa, what constitutes uh, the mood of being helpless and destitute, and expressing that mood in the form of a humble plea. So, what are the various components of that? We will see through these 8 verses. Hmm. So we have seen 3 verses now. Uh, hmm. So, fourth verse. Tvam prachadena mudiraccha vinapidhaya manjira mukta charanam cha vidhaya devi kunje vrajendra tanayena virajamane nattam kada pramuditam abhisarayishye. O Devi, kada, when will that day be mine? When tvam prachadena, when I get an opportunity to dress you, mudirachavina, in a cloud colored sari. When will that day be mine? When I get an when I will get an opportunity to dress you in a cloud colored sari. Manjira mukta charanam, when I will get an opportunity to remove your ankle bells. Pramuditam vidhaya, and help you excitingly abhisarayishye, to attain uh, the kunje, the forest grove. Vrajendra Tanayena Virajamani, where the son of Nanda resides, Nattam, at night, waiting for you. Hmm? So again, he is expressing eagerness for service. Of course, this is becoming all the more Lalasamayi. Hmm. This is a Lalasamayi expression. Even though in the early stages he is expressing the mood of, you know, Dainya Bodhika, expressing one's fallen state. But in reality, Rupa Goswami is Manjari. And the service of Manjari is to, the Manjaris is to dress Radharani, uh, uh, you know, you know, or put on ornaments, remove the old ornaments, and to help her reach, um, help her meet with Krishna in the forest grove at night. So again, there is expression of eagerness for service, Lalasamayi, which at the stage of um, at the stage of uh, you know sadhaka, being a sadhaka, we cannot express such desires, but we can definitely express a desire for service, but not, our desire for such intimate service. It's very unlikely that at a stage of anartha nivritti such specific desires for service can manifest in our heart. So we should not express these kind of desires, because at our stage this is impossible for such desires to manifest. While we are still struggling with desire for name, fame, glorification, lust, anger, envy, greed, such specific desires do not manifest. So we can have a desire for, so um, uh, the mood of Dainya Bodhika should be very strong. Hmm. The mood of Dainya Bodhika and Samprarthanatmika. While we should pray for service attitude, but aspiring for this kind of specific service, indicates their particular exalted state. So Lalasamai prayers are offered by perfected devotees, whereas Samprarthanatmika prayers are offered by sadhakas. So this is a Lalsamai prayer, like we sing in our Tulsi Aarti. Morae Abhilash Vilas Kunje Diyovas. So these kind of prayers are Lalsamai prayers. These prayers are offered by perfected devotees and mm, not by sadhakas like us. But we can offer these prayers in a mood of worship. You know, we worship these sentiments which are expressed by perfected devotees. We may sing them also, right? We may sing them, but understanding that I should qualify myself to one day sing in this way rather than prematurely asking for this. Like that. Then he continues. कुञ्जे प्रसूनकुलकल्पितकेलितल्पे संविष्टयोर्मधुरनर्मविलासभाजोः लोकत्रयाभरणयोश्चरणाम्बुजानि संवाहयिष्यति कदा युवयोर्जनोऽयम्. So he says, Charanambujani, the lotus feet, Yuvayoho, of the two of you, Samvishtayor, are resting Kunje, in a forest grove. The lotus feet of the two of you are resting in a forest grove. Prasuna kula kalpita keli talpe. Prasuna means flowers. Prasuna kula means a collection of flowers, host of flowers. Huh? Talpe, talpa means bed. Keli, kalpita keli talpe. Keli talpa means a bed which is specifically meant for performing pastimes. Prasuna kula kalpita keli talpe means this bed which is specifically meant for pastimes, which has been ornamented by a host of flowers. So Rupa Goswami is expressing here that the lotus feet of the two of you are resting in a forest grove on a bed that is ornamented with a host of flowers. Madhura Narma Vilasa Bhajo. Those feet have enjoyed delightful love sports. Lokatraya Abaranayoho, and are the ornaments of the entire world. So he is constantly glorifying the lotus feet, and now he says, Kada ayam janaha samhavishya samvahayishyati. Samvahana means to massage. When will I get to massage those lotus feet? Again, there is an expression of Lalasamai. Eagerness for specific service. In a specific mood. These kind of prayers can be offered by those who have actually become qualified for Raganuga Sadhana. Which means before the stage of Nishta, Ruchi, such prayers can be worshipped by us. Such prayers can be sung by us in a mood of worshipping. We can meditate on Rupa Goswami offering this prayer. But one day when we become qualified, we can ourselves offer this prayer. Otherwise, we can sing this prayer while meditating on Rupa Goswami offering this prayer. Right? But we ourselves cannot, how can we think that we are qualified enough to massage the lotus feet of Krishna? Like that. This is again an expression of Lalasamayi mood. So, then he continues. Tvat Kundarodasi Vilasa Parishramena Svedambuchumbi Vadanamburuhashriyo Vam Vrindavaneshwari Kada Tarumula Bhajo Samvijayami chamari chaya chamarena. Vam, the two of you, Tarumula Bhajo, you two are sitting under a tree. Tat Kunda Rodasi, Rodasi means banks. Kunda means your Kunda. Tat Kunda, your Kunda, on the banks of your Kunda, which is Radha Kunda. You two are seated under a tree on the banks of your Kunda, O Vrindavaneshwari. Kada Chamarichaya Chamarena Samvijayami. When will I get an opportunity to use a chamara to fan Vadanamburuhashriyo, your two lotus faces, Svedambu Chumbi, which is kissed by the perspiration. And why there is perspiration? Vilasa Parishramena. Parishrama, great endeavor, effort. And effort for what? For love making. So, as it is mentioned, Radha Krishna Pranamora Yugala Kishore. Shama Gori Ange Dibo Chandane Raganda Chamara Dulabo Kabe Herimuka Chandra. Same thing. Chamara Dulabo Kabe Heri Mukha Chandra. So, Kada Chamari Chaya Chamarena Samvijayami Vadanamburuhashriyo. When will that day be mine when I can use a yak-tail whisk to fan both of your faces? Svedambu Chumbi, which is kissed by the moistening perspiration, which is formed due to Vilasa Parishramena, due to the effort of lovemaking. Again, we can worship these sentiments. We cannot have these sentiments at this stage of our spiritual life, right? So this is again a Lalasamai prayer. Of course, if you remember, we are slowly moving from Anartha Nivritti to Nishta to Ruchi to Asakti to Bhava and Prema. So, therefore, when Anartha Nivritti is accomplished, then definitely one comes to the stage of Nishta, Ruchi, etc. Then one actually becomes qualified to practice Raganuga Sadhana, right? So, again, this is an expression of Lalasamai here, where he is telling this. But of course, as I mentioned, we can worship these sentiments and meditate on Rupa Goswami performing these services, rather than at this stage we ourselves, we cannot have such aspirations. We should aspire to overcome our anarthas. That should be our aspiration. So then he continues. Leenam nikunja kuhare bhavati mukunde chitraiva sochitavatim ruchirakshinaham bhugnam bruvam narachayeti mrusharusham tvam agre vrajendra tanayasya kadanu neshye. So this is becoming more and more intimate. He says, for Ruchirakshi, Ruchira means very tasteful. Akshi means eyes. Oh, splendid-eyed beauty. Leenam Nikunja Kuhare. When you who are hiding in a secret spot in the forest grove, Mukunde, when Mukunda finds you hiding in a secret spot in the forest grove, when Krishna finds you, what will you say? Bhavatim bhugnam bhruvam suchitavatim. Bhavatim suchitavatim. You will accuse me that you have indicated to him, you have told him where I was hiding. And how have you indicated to Krishna? Bhugnam Bruvam. Bhugnam Bruvam means by twitching your eyebrow, by moving your eyebrow, you have indicated to Krishna where I was hiding. I was trying to hide Krishna, and I hide from Krishna, and I was trying to uh, make him search for me. But you have spoiled this whole thing by uh, twitching your eyebrow and indicating to Krishna and telling him where I was hiding. You have spoiled the whole thing. So this is Rupa Goswami's meditation. So he's meditating on one particular day. You will be hiding in a forest grove from Krishna, but suddenly Krishna will find where you are hiding, and I will also be there. And there is one more personality who will be there, which is Chitra Saki. And you will look at me and tell in anger, Mrisha Rusha, he says. Mrisha Rusha means false anger. In false anger, you will criticize me by telling, you have told Mukunda where I was hiding. You have indicated to him. So at that time, Rupa Goswami is telling here, Agre Vrajendra Tanayasya Agre, right in front of Krishna, I will tell him, Na aham, it was not me, Chitra eva. It was Chitra Saki who told about you. It was not me. Na rachaya iti mrisharusham tvam. Kindly do not be falsely angry with me like this. He says, Kadanu, when will that day be mine? When this can be true. Again, this is a very, um, you know, this is actually, you know, Lalasamayi. In fact, such prayers at our stage also, we should focus more on, um, you know, I think not these kind of, at our stage, we can read these prayers and worship them, but more appropriate would be Dainya Bodhika and Samprarthanatmika prayers rather than Lalsamai prayers. There is a hand up. Is that Vrajrade Mataji? Is that Sachiparan Prabhu? Hare Krishna. I think I saw a hand up. Okay, maybe by mistake, I don't know. Okay, then he continues. Vagyuddhakeli kutuke vrajarajasunum jitvoन्मदामधिकदर्प vikasi jalpam fullabiranalpamudiryamana stotram kadanubhavatim avalokayishye. So he says that Jitva, when you having defeated Vrajaraja Sunum, when you having defeated the son of Vrajaraj, Vagyuddha Keli Kutuke, Keli, Vagyuddha Keli, in the playful war of words, in the playful war of words, when you were having a debate with or an argument with Vrajaraja Sunu, the son of Vrajaraj, which is Krishna, uh, uh, when you will defeat him, Unmadam Adhika Darpa Vikasi Jalpam, you will express pride by speaking even more clever words to celebrate your victory. This is Rupa Goswami very clearly expressing his constitutional position here as a Manjari. As a Manjari on the side of Srimati Radharani. He is expressing his Radha Dasyam here very clearly. This is our aspiration. We worship this. We don't imagine this. We don't put ourselves in the place of Rupa Goswami and think that, I am a part of that pastime. Not yet. We are not ready for it. We should understand. It is always good right now to put Srila Rupa Goswami in that place and let Rupa Goswami only express this. This is a prayer which is meant for our worship. So he says, so he is remembering this pastime where in a playful war of words, actually, Srimati Radharani defeats Krishna, and after defeating Krishna, with great pride, she speaks even more clever words to celebrate her victory. And the Sakis, who are on the side of Radharani, your jubilant friends will shout, Analpam Udiryamana Stotram, will shout out heaps of praiseful words such as Jai Radhe, like that. Kadanu Avalokayishye, when will I witness this occasion? So this is again, a very specific, what to say, Lalasamai Prarthana. Okay. So these are meant for our worship. Okay. But more essential is actually what is mentioned in the first 3 verses, which is a prayer for mercy. Please show your mercy, a prayer for mercy and an expression of one's own destitute and wretched state, which manifests in the form of humble yachana, humble plea, and an expression of eagerness to worship the Lord. This is relevant for us. When we do that, then we can attract the mercy of Krishna, which can offset the absence of association of great exalted devotees. So, okay. So, what he is indicating here. The rest are all Lalsamai, specific Lalsamai Prarthana, as it is expressed by Srila Rupa Goswami. And there is one final thing, which is Falashruti. Falashruti of this Gandharva Samprarthanashtakam. Gandharva is Radharani, Gandharvika. Yakkopi sushtu vrishabhanu kumarikaya Samprarthanashtakamidam patati prapannaha Sa preyasa saha sametya dhrita pramoda Tatra prasadala harim urari karoti. Yah kopi prapannaha, that surrendered soul, sushtu patati, who very beautifully and clearly recites idam samprarthanashtakam, this Gandharva samprarthanashtakam, Vrishabhanu Kumarikaya, which is dedicated to the daughter of Vrishabhanu. So when one very beautifully recites this Gandharva samprarthanashtakam, sa sametya, he will be able to approach her dhrita pramoda, in a mood full of joy. Prayasa saha, along with her lover Shri Krishna. Hmm? Tatra prasada laharim urari karoti, and will experience and spread their mercy. Hmm? They will experience and spread their mercy. So, this is the point that he is making here. So one who beautifully recites this Gandharva Samprarthanashtakam, which is dedicated to the daughter of Rishabhanu, will be able to approach her in a mood full of joy along with her lover Sri Krishna, and will experience and spread their mercy. Okay, so this is actually here he is saying, what is this kakwa, the helpless, destitute practitioner's expression, that is a humble plea. That in order to express that, he quotes this Sri Gandharva Samprarthanashtakam by Srila Rupa Goswami, in which especially the first three verses are very relevant for us. And in this section, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that the symptom of devotion which is free of deception is the attitude that one is very fallen, destitute, and wretched. That mood is the symptom of a deception-free devotion. Like that. Okay. Any quick comments, questions, anything anyone would like to share? I'm sorry I have spoken for a very long time. Of course, a good percentage of that time has been in recapping. But anyway, there is one question in the chat box. What are Dainya Bodhika and Samprarthanatmika prayers? So Dainya Bodhika prayers are prayers which express one's fallen position. Like there are so many prayers like Gopinath Mama Nivedana Shunom. So many of the paragraphs in that are Dainya Bodhika. Vishay Durjana Sada Kamerata Kichu Nahi Mora Gona. So these are all like Dainya Bodhika expressions. There are so many prayers like that. And Samprarthanatmika prayers are expression of one's desire by a sadhaka. A sadhaka may express desire for kabe habe bolo sei dinamar aparada gucci shuddhaname ruchi. When will the day be mine when I will give up all the offenses and chant purely? Okay, this is Samprarthanatmika, where expression of expressing a desire to be fulfilled to Krishna being expressed by a sadhaka, struggling sadhaka. That is Samprarthanatmika prayers. Whereas Lalasamai prayers are expression of desire by desire for service as expressed by a perfected devotee, as we saw in this Sri Gandharva Samprarthanashtakam, like that. Yes, Madhavi Gopi Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Prabhuji.
Dandavat.
Prabhuji, first of all, I really want to express my gratitude that such a beautiful prayer you have shared with us, because otherwise, at least I am not at that level where we will go and read and study such things. So I really am grateful for that. And just one doubt I have, that this Lala Samay prayers which Swami has written, is it only at the level of Madhurya Rasa only such prayers are done, or other devotees in other rasa like Vatsalya, Sakya, they also can have such prayers? And
Oh, definitely. Definitely, they will also have such prayers. Why not? This is not something which is unique only to Madhurya Rasa. Uh, this is definitely this such kind of mood and such expressions can be there in all the rasas. But because almost all our acharyas and our parampara is leading us towards a particular rasa, therefore, most of the expressions of all the acharyas, the Lalsamai prayers will all be in the mode of Manjaris only. That you will see. I will, even though in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu such expressions in Sakyaras, Vatsalyaras are presented, but none of them are compilations of our acharyas, are expressions of our acharyas. So in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna who came in the mood of Radharani in order to give that specific mood of the Manjaris. So therefore, as his assistants and his commander in chiefs, he roped in all the Manjaris only. Rupa Manjari, Lavanga Manjari, Rati Manjari, and all the Manjaris. So when they write Lal Samai prayers, there will be that mood only. Even Narottam Das Thakur, all of them. Shama Gori Ange Dibo, Chandanera Ganda, Chamara Dulabo Kave, Heri Mukha Chanda. This is definitely done by the Manjaris only. So yes, definitely in all the rasas there can be Lal Samai prayers. Uh, but most of the Lal Samai prayers, or almost all of the Lal Samai prayers that you will see in our Sampradaya writings, will be in Madhurya Rasa only.
Okay, and but all of them will be at the level of Nishtha, Ruchi, those stage, whichever rasa it may be, right?
Yeah, at least that. Yeah, Lal Samai, in fact, Lal Samai prayers, yeah, at least Ruchi. Yeah, one will be at that stage, at least Ruchi. Many of those are expressions by actually those at the stage of bhava and prema only. But at least one has to be at the stage of ruchi and must have actually developed the genuine greed for that particular flavor of service. So then one can offer such prayers actually.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. And one last, because you must have read lot many acharyas commentary and such books. That is why I'm asking. But
I
when
have
such,
not.
but definitely more than us. That much I know. So that is why I'm asking. Like that means when we see such expressions, means these exalted Goswamis, they used to be always in such mood of their Siddharup, whatever it is, or at time to time, sometimes they express it like that.
Yeah, once in a while they do express such things in their prayers, but they do write lot for which are relevant for sadhakas also. So both modes are there because their purpose of descent, one of the main purposes of descent is to assist Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in actually spreading this mission. So for that, definitely they will have to write um, in a way that is relevant for the sadhakas. But at the same time, they do write expressing their own feelings also, because the sadhakas will eventually come to higher levels of sadhana bhakti where these writings will also be useful for them.
Yeah, definitely. Because just by hearing this description, it changes the inner atmosphere so much. Like it takes you away from this world totally. So, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for sharing all this and for explanations.
Hare Krishna. Okay, there is another question in the chat box. Dainya Bodhika, Samprarthanatmika, and Lalsami, are there more types of prayers? No, generally prayers are categorized into these three categories. These are the three categories. There may be some subdivisions, I don't know. But in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami categorizes them into these three categories: Samprarthanatmika, Dainya Bodhika, and Lalsamai. Yeah, like that. Anything else before we move ahead to the next part? Okay, if there is none, then we will continue. So the next topic that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes is Shatata me dushtatvam. Cheating and deception are my wickedness. Hmm. They are my wickedness, he says. Hmm. So he says, deceit or pretense is the wickedness of the conditioned soul, whereas a pure soul is by nature simple and thoroughly honest. But wickedness and pretense, sorry, deceit and pretense is the wickedness of the soul. Hmm. So when souls take shelter of ignorance and illusion, they at once become deceitful, falsely proud, and obsessed with the desire for honor, worship, adoration, and prestige. So when the souls take shelter of ignorance and illusion, they at once become deceitful, falsely proud, and obsessed with the desire for honor, worship, adoration, and prestige. They become hypocritical and consumed by dishonest activities. Hmm. Such souls seek distance from everything related to the Lord. Hmm. They seek distance from everything related to the Lord. When those unfortunate conditioned souls realize their true position as servants of the Lord, they feel more humble than the straw in the street and gain the intelligence to respect others according to their respective positions. So therefore, this Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena, in Shikshashtakam third verse, uh, it is mentioned, this is the stage of Nishta after Anartha Nivritti. When Anartha Nivritti is accomplished, when one gives up one's offenses and sinful inclinations, at that stage, one is truly able to become humbler than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, being ready to uh, give all respects to others while not expecting any respect in return. This is possible when one is completely free of, or one is significantly free of the conditionings. So he says, if they also take complete shelter of the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they receive the mercy of Sri Krishna and his beloved devotees. In this mode, they can take complete shelter of the holy name, Kirtaniya Sadahari, and then mercy can come. So this is the mode. This is the mode that cheating and deception are my wickedness. But uh, when the souls take shelter of ignorance and illusion, they at once become deceitful, falsely proud, obsessed with the desire for honor, worship, adoration, and prestige. This leads to hypocrisy, dishonest activities, and they stay away from all activities related to the Supreme Lord. But when such unfortunate conditioned souls realize their true position as servants, then they feel more humble than a straw in the street. They gain the intelligence to respect others according to their respective positions. Sakale samman korite shakati deho nata jata jata. Tabeto gaibo harinama suke aparada habehata. Like that. So then they can take complete shelter of the holy name and receive the mercy of Krishna, beloved devotees. That is about cheating and deception are my wickedness. So these are the natural symptoms of a conditioned soul. A pure soul by nature is very simple and thoroughly honest. When souls take shelter of ignorance and illusion, they at once become deceitful, like that. This is about cheating and deception are my wickedness, about which Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes this. Then finally there is Ujjvala Premamrita, about which he writes, and then after that there is worship of Sri Gandharvika, about which he writes. Okay, there are two more topics left, but at this point I will again pause. Are there any quick discussion points, comments here? There is one question in the chat box. What are the stages one can offer these prayers? Lalsamai, one can offer at the stage of Ruchi. One can offer Lalsamai even before that. We offer our Lalsamai prayers every day, right? We offer Lalsamai prayers during our Tulsi Aarti. That's Lalsamai prayer only. Many of those stanzas are Lalsamai prayers. But we don't actively meditate on that. We actively meditate on the author worshipping and expressing such desires. We worship those prayers. We can offer those prayers in a mode of worshipping them. That is definitely allowed. No problem. Whereas Samprarthanatmika and Dainya Bodhika prayers can be offered right from the beginning of one's devotional service. No problem. Okay. If there are no further discussion points or questions, then we will move ahead to the next topic, which is Ujjvala Premamrita, the supremely radiant nectar of love for Krishna. Because he says there are three symptoms, there are three things which the mercy of Krishna can do if we are praying for it. He says three things that the mercy of Krishna gives, which is Dushtatvam me davayati. It can remove the wickedness from the heart. Ujjvalam premamritam me dadati, mahyam dadati. It gives the radiant love of devotional service, or radiant divine love of prema. Shri Gandharva Bhajana Vidaye Mam Prerayati, and it inspires within my heart the process of worshipping Radha and Krishna. So these are the three things which happens. So he is talking here that the supremely radiant nectar of love for Krishna also manifests due to that mercy of Radha and Krishna. He says here Ujjvala refers to Shringara Rasa. You see, of course, this is Raghunath Das Goswami. This is Raghunath Das Goswami expressing this, right? Here Ujjvala refers to Shringara Rasa, which is also known as Madhurya Rasa, the transcendental emotion of amorous love of God. Srila Rupa Goswami describes this as follows. So this is from Ujjvala Neelamani. Mukhya raseshu pura yaha samkshepena udito rahasyatvat prithag eva bhakti rasarat sa vistarena uchyate madurah vakshamaner vibhavadyaihi swadyatam maduraratihi Nita Bhakti Rasa Prokto Madhuryakyo Manishibihi. He says Pura. Pura means before writing this Ujjvala Neelamani in my Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Yaha Mukhya Raseshu Bhakti Rasarat, the king amongst all the primary rasas, which is Madhurya Rasa, Sankshepena Udita, it was mentioned only very briefly. Why? Rahasyatvat, because it is very confidential. because it is very confidential. In Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, very briefly only I mentioned it. But Pritageva, but now here in this Ujjvala Nilamani, Saha Vistarena Uchyate. I am very elaborately describing it. So he says, Madhura Ratihi. Madhura Rati. Rati means bhava. When the mood of conjugal rasa, which is in a very, very budding state, which is when it is called Rati, Swadhyatam Nita, when it becomes very tasty. How does Rati become very tasty? Vibhava Adyaihi. By the addition of the other Samagri Bhavas. By the addition of the other Samagri Bhavas in the form of Vibhav, Anubhav, Satvika Bhav and Sanchari Bhav. So in the with the addition of these uh, these other bhavas, it becomes very tasty. So Manishibihi Proktah. At that stage, very intelligent people who the experts who understand the nature of rasa, they call it Madhura Kyo Bhakti Rasaha. Madhura Bhakti Rasa. Madhura Bhakti Rati, when it acts, when it combines with the Vibhav, Anubhav, Satvika Bhav and Sanchari Bhav, it becomes Madhura Bhakti Rasa. Okay, this is mentioned in Ujjvala Nilamani. Okay, so he says, Srila Rupa Goswami describes in Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that pure devotional service is cultivated in 5 different transcendental types of attachment, namely Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya and Madhurya. These 5 primary relationships are also known as continual loving attraction, Sthai Bhav. The support in Madhurya Rasa is Krishna and his pleasure potency and their qualities are the stimulants. Stimulants are Vibhav. Vibhav. We will discuss this, what these 5 are. We have discussed this already once before or many times before, but maybe in our next session we will discuss what is this Vibhav, Anubhav, Satvika Bhav and all that. So during their amorous pastimes, the gopis, including Srimati Radharani and even Krishna himself, display the 8 symptoms of love, which is Sattvika Bhava, and the 33 emotional waves, which is Vyabhichari Bhava. Vyabhichari Bhavas are called as transient emotions. They come and go. They come, enhance the experience of love, and then they go like that. So, and Sattvika Bhavas are involuntary bodily response to a strong emotion. So involuntary bodily response, like tears flowing from eyes, hair standing on end, body trembling, voice choking, these are all like involuntary bodily response to a very strong emotional stimulus. This is called as Sattvika Bhav or Ashta Sattvika Vikaras, like that. These bhavas rise up like tides, causing the ocean of Bhakti Rasa to swell. When devotional service in practice is transformed into devotional service in ecstasy, one develops steady attraction. So the steady attraction is called as Sthai Bhava. And that steady attraction is in a particular mood of either Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya and Madhurya. So when sadhana bhakti transforms into bhava bhakti, one develops that sthai bhava. That steady attractive attachment combined with vibhav, anubhav, sattvika bhav and vyabhichari bhav attains the state of rasa. This state signifies the visible essence of pure love and is known as bhakti rasa. Shri Krishna's Vrajalila and the Leela that he enacted with his dear gopis all over Brajamandala are the best examples of this rasa. So he says, those who are fortunate and awaken a strong greed, you see, lobha, lobhamayi shraddha, to obtain this transcendental amorous rasa should follow in the wake of the gopis, which means become raganuga. But for that, you should have a strong greed and, of course, freedom from anarthas. They should pray continually with intense longing and anguish and with voice choked with emotion. In such a state of intense prayer, the sadhaka obtains Srimati Radharani's mercy. Yeah. The rays of Hladini Shakti, the internal pleasure potency of the Lord, enters such a practitioner's heart. That's making this transcendental rasa visible. Of course, that entry happens at the stage of bhava only. There is no other method or circumstance by which one can achieve this transcendental madhurya rasa. So one has to deeply cry out for the mercy. Of course, in our next session, we will discuss little bit more about what these samagri bhavas are, even though I have described it before, but nevertheless, because there is a description here, we will quickly touch upon this. But before that, if there is any quick discussion points, comments before we wind up for the day, anything anyone would like to share, ask, add, anything? Ramacharya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavad. So, in the previous discussion, we talked about dishonesty is the weak nature of the conditioned jiva. And then in that segment, we talked about one should feel inferior to a blade of grass and respect all others suitably. So the question that, I would like to ask is that, I mean, we have been hearing this, that we should have that mood. But in practical life, when we try to apply that, it says that, apply that in respect to, proper adhikara, like, kanishta, madhya, and utma. So in every, respect, we have to adjust ourselves to retain that mood of the blade of a grass. So, I mean, it really appears, very, very conflicting, and it's very hard to always preserve that type of mood.
I mean, forget about preserving that mode. Even developing that mode is very difficult, actually. What about?
Yes, Prabhuji.
I mean, you preserve it. To preserve it, we have to first develop it. So, even to develop that, that is why it is not easy. We can act humbly, but to develop humility as a virtue needs a very significant subduing of Rajogun and Tamogun. So, which takes its own time. So, what we can at the most to do is to try to act humbly, even though we know that within my heart I don't feel humble, but I know if I act humbly, it is very good for my devotional service. It will please Krishna. It will please Guru. That much we can try to do. But to develop this mood of being humbler than a blade of grass, that is possible only when significant destruction of Rajogun and Tamogun has happened. If that has not happened, to develop that mood, what to speak of sustaining that mood, to develop that mood itself is very difficult. But we can act. We can externally act in a humble way, understanding that it will protect my devotional creeper. And gradually, when Anartha Nivritti continues, and when the influence of tada rajastamo bhava kamalobhadayasche chetayetairanā viddam sthitam sattve prasidati. So when the influence of rajogun and tamogun gradually get destroyed by our sincere practice of bhakti, then gradually over a period of time, when sattva becomes very prominent, then we will develop the ability to actually develop humility as a virtue. That is when it will be possible.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Hare
So,
Krishna.
so in nutshell, if we are not acting as a blade of grass, we should know, or I should know that I still have Rajo and Tamo in my behavior. Because I have some services, Prabhu, and I come across sometimes a little bit hard or harsh, and then I don't sleep in night, I'm super disturbed. Why did I do that? And then next time I try to not do it, but then I end up doing it. So it's very important for me to kind of have some sort of mantra that I can always try to implement.
Yeah, the mantra is my devotional creeper is very tender and it can be uprooted at any time. It is my responsibility to protect it. And if I act in an arrogant way, in a non-humble way, I am slowly uprooting my creeper. So with a desire to protect my creeper, at least even though I am not feeling humble inside my heart, I will try to act humbly. So that can be the mantra. So
Yes, Prabhuji.
so that way we can protect our creeper, and when the creeper is protected and when it grows, then we will get the strength and ability to actually be humble also. Not so to act humbly is needed. To be humble is a byproduct of our sincere practice of devotional service gradually over a period of time.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Okay. So I think we will pause here. It's already time. So thank you all very much for your patient listening and your enthusiastic participation. We will continue this discussion next Tuesday. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami Pad ki jai. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Shri Manah Siksha ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.